Hi, I'm Laura. I'm a product leader specializing in B2B SaaS, and this is part 2 of a 2-part video series on running a killer workshop. In part 1, we talked about planning and structuring a workshop, and in this video, I'm going to talk about facilitating the workshop and then following up on it to make sure that all of that discussion and ideation gets put to good use. So what really makes a workshop sing? In my opinion, a good facilitator. Now, there are folks who are trained and specialized in facilitation, and they are super excellent at this, but you don't necessarily need that level of skill to run your own workshop. What you do need is a solid ability to read a room. And one of the reasons for that is I don't think I've ever seen a workshop that didn't devolve into some lively discussion and debate at some point. And generally, those conversations can be helpful because, first of all, everyone's getting passionate and really involved, but moreover, they can highlight what the team feels is really important. But they can derail your schedule. So the key here is to be able to recognize when that discussion has maybe run its course and find a good place to cut in and redirect the group. This is where a parking lot comes in handy. You can make sure this discussion gets captured for later review. Make sure everyone feels they got to make their point, capture it, move on. A real problem in many workshops is that the boldest personalities tend to dominate the room. They take the floor and they don't let go, while the more introverted folks just keep their mouths shut, even when they may have phenomenal contributions. And you can start to get a sense of who's who during the introductions at the start of the workshop. You'll see one person simply state their name and title and sit back quietly, while someone else is going to do a 5-minute monologue about their entire career and how they think the workshop should run. And those people, while passionate, can ruin a workshop by doing all of the talking instead of collaborating. Consider calling on people who might be too shy to speak up and make sure they feel safe in doing so. Balancing conversation with written activities also helps get ideas out of those folks who may not be as comfortable speaking in front of the whole group. At some point, though, you're probably going to have to interrupt a big talker, thank them for their input, and move on. Keeping on top of that discussion will be the key to a productive and focused workshop. Now, once the workshop has ended, your work is not done. You want to make sure all of that discussion and ideation and everything else gets put to really good use, and that everyone who participated feels like it was a good use of their time. First, you want to do a quick follow-up not long after the workshop. Thank everyone for their participation, summarize in writing what got discussed, any decisions or discussion points, and tell them what to expect in the near future. Then commit to keeping all the participants in the loop moving forward so they can continue to feel engaged and valued. And I'm going to assume you have some items in your parking lot by now. Make sure to assign those appropriately and then also commit to following up on those items with the group. Too often a parking lot becomes a black hole for things that someone mentioned that never go anywhere. And sometimes it turns out that you review a parking lot item later and decide, this isn't the best idea after all, we're not going to pursue this. That's something you can still communicate to the team though. You don't have to let it just fall away. You can also look for some trends in the workshop discussion. Did several participants all generate the same idea? That might be a sign that there's some low-hanging fruit to look at. Did anyone seem particularly grumpy or closed off or discontent? In those cases, sometimes you want to have a one-on-one follow-up with them and find out what's going on. This follow-up period is where a lot of workshops fall down. The workshop itself is kind of exhausting for the facilitator. You've done all that upfront work and planning, and it's so easy to just say, oh, thank goodness that's over with, and move on. But you really do need to do those follow-ups. So many times there's all this rich discussion and work that happens on the day of, and then it doesn't go anywhere. So don't let that happen to all of the hard work you've put in. Stay engaged after the workshop as well. Keep the participants engaged. Really make the most of it. And that, in a nutshell, is how you run a killer workshop. If this video was helpful to you, or if this is something you think you might need some help with, come find me on LinkedIn. I'll post a link to that and my website below.